Where's Nick at night? Oh, there you are. Boy, it's a special, special week coming up. And for me, not because it's election day. Well, it's special because we can get it over with and move on with our lives if there's any life left after this election. But next Friday is Veterans Day. And as the son of a veteran who paid a heavy price for our nation, I've always been very, very closely attached to veterans. And today we want to take just a few minutes and honor our veterans. And we're going to start by letting one of our veterans here. If you haven't been around for a while, this is Nick. And Nick served in Afghanistan, and he went through some stuff. And I've asked him to come and share some of that again, so that if you can see visuals of what some of these guys and gals go through and then relate it to someone that you know that's part of your family, maybe it will stir up a little more emotion concerning this. So, Nick.
Hey, everybody. All right, Adrian, let's go ahead and throw up that first one. I'm going to click through these kind of quickly and see how fast we can go through here. This first one is of Manas. Whenever you fly out of the United States and you're going into Afghanistan, you don't fly directly in. You fly into one of the neighboring countries first. So I chose some pictures today to show us some of the beauty that I took out of the country, juxtaposed versus some of the other slides that we're going to see here in a minute. But I took a lot of beauty out of the country. I thought it was gorgeous. Let's go to the next one. That will be Bagram. It's kind of down in a bowl, so all of the mountains go around you, and most of them were snow-capped. This one was getting on towards winter. We got there in December. All right, let's go ahead and click to the next one. This one is us at the end of training. Today is pretty much a story about faith and standing. We stumbled in here in 2008. Our friend Nikki, who has moved away since then, brought us in, and we were like, wow, what is this place? So Scott, I guess probably unknowingly, started arming me. I knew that I was a king by the time I left. I knew that I was in command of my situation. And I had just enough faith in standing probably to be dangerous. And that's about where we were whenever we left. We had been training for about 9 months. It's a happy bunch of guys. We just got done with 9 months worth of being together all the time, getting ready for what was to come. All right, the next one is when we got to Bagram. Well, during that training, I found out that I was going to be a Husky driver. Husky is a piece of machinery that's a mine-resistant vehicle that goes out in front of the convoy. We were route clearance patrol, so we were out finding the IEDs. That was our job. I was in the very, very front. It was my job to find them. They picked me. Well, I kind of volunteered. They needed somebody really smart to run all the equipment. So I went ahead and was like, I can do that. What it is a metal touching device underneath the vehicle. So luckily, when we got there, it was kind of cool because we got to actually build our vehicles. Next one is us building the vehicles. They come in a big mod package. The front mod goes on, the back mod goes on, and next one. And this is what it looks like when it gets done. This was my Husky, and it was awesome. I named her Old Blue. We took her out of the box, and we put it together. And she was my baby. I knew her inside and out. I knew where everything was. Those big panels on the middle are the metal detection devices. And those tires, you can actually lower the air pressure so far that I could lay my hand down in the gravels. You could run over top of it, and it wouldn't break your hand. And that's like a 3-ton vehicle. So it was a pretty cool vehicle. They come out of South Africa. We learned later that it didn't work as well as what we thought it did. All right, next one. This is how small it was inside. I don't know if you noticed on that back one, but there's no doors. So you have to climb up to the top and then go down inside. So this is what the inside of the cockpit looked like. Next. That's with me inside of it. After you put the steering wheel on, all of my full gear, I've got my weapon over there to the side. It was really tight, really tight. Not fun whatsoever. But I was good at it. So next, this is another picture of the countryside. We were flying out to Fob Shank. Next, another picture. It's not all desert. They have a lot of good irrigation, so you can see they have a lot of orchards. Next, during the beginning of deployment, we did a lot of supply runs. We didn't really have a lot of, we were kind of the leftover platoon, kind of the black sheep. They didn't really know what they were going to do with us. Everybody else had a home. We didn't have a home, so we were going to all kinds of places. This place was really cool. It's called Fob Airborne. It's up above 6,000 feet, which for you guys here, we're about 3,000 here. So think double that, and how the air does not impact your lungs as well. It's pretty tough. But once again, I took the beauty of it. All those mountains, the place was gorgeous. All right, next. So we start going out on patrol. We start gaining a little bit of confidence. We're getting our feet wet. Next. This is me popped up out of my Husky. That's me up through the top panels right there. This was on a route that we had cleared, and we were waiting on one to go off. Let's see. So the next one will be the video. So I'm going to set up the video. It was on this route. It was about March, right at the beginning of March. And I called Marisa. They had told us that we were going on Route Springfield. We all knew it was going to be bad. 2nd platoon, it got blown up. 4th platoon, it got blown up. So here we go. They're going to send us on this route. I'm going to be right out front. And I called Marisa, and she said, she could hear it in my voice. I knew I was going to get blown up. She would tell me later that she knew that I was going to get blown up. So I jumped in and strapped down as tight as I could go. And that's what happened. That's me right there. It was only about 100-pound IED, so it wasn't too bad. Actually, it just kind of felt like that I was going over a speed bump. And then I sat back and drank a Pepsi and waited on my platoon sergeant to get there. So it looked pretty bad. You might want to cut that sound off. But anyway, there was 2 helicopters watching over us, and they didn't exactly tell us where the ID was correctly, so I got blown up, and then those 2 guys got eliminated. Next one is back to the country again. So after that day, we kind of figured out that the Husky didn't work out too well. They had lowered the pressure plates, the pressure on them so low that even when I ran over top of it that day, I still got blown up. So we changed our whole tactics and started going out on patrol with metal detectors on the ground in front of us. Just 2 guys walking in the road swinging metal detectors. Next, which is what these guys are doing. I chose this one. I love this one. It kind of almost looks like a lane you would see in West Virginia somewhere, but it's just a gravel road, all kinds of trees, all kinds of vegetation. Not what people generally think that Afghanistan looks like. So we started getting pretty confident. And then the next one will be another video. Watch to the left of the truck, right here. This is a day we found about 9 IEDs in one day. Oh, it didn't go off. Anyway. Oh, it's got sound again. Okay. So that's what happens whenever we find them and you don't get hit, which is what we did, and we did really well. We ended up helping write the book before we left of how other people would conduct route clearance in the future. Yep, and then we can go on to the next one. We started getting kind of cocky. We would find them, and we would play with them a little bit, and then we would set them off. Next. This is another one that we found on that same route. These 2 guys are 2 of my best friends. The other guy is an interpreter that's standing there. You can see the metal detectors in their hands. So we pretty much weren't using my Husky anymore. We were pretty much just finding them all by hand. And like I said, we got really good at it. The next one will be another video. This one will be at night. We got so good, we were bombing during the day, and we were doing it at night. So that's that guy was inside of the truck looking at a night vision screen, and you could see by how how skewed that it went, how big that was. He was pretty far behind it. So later on in the deployment, we get my new Husky. This is me with my new Husky. This was the second Husky that we had built, and we took it and put GPR on the front of it. And ground penetrating radar, you can imagine it kind of like a fish finder. Put it up in there's a little screen up in my cockpit, so I could lay that out in front of it, and then it would kind of give me a picture of what was going on underneath it. So we get up to about June 6th, 2010. And this is a day that nobody in my platoon ever forgets. We were clearing a route. We were having a really good day, and we had found 3 already, coming over a mountain pass, coming down into a town called Parwalk. We got down to the T intersection, and left was home, and right was 500 yards to the city of Parwalk, and that was it. We couldn't take our trucks in there because they were just too big to go into the city. We actually made the joke, why aren't we just turning left? Well, command told us that we were going right. So we sent 2 trucks down to clear the 500 yards down to that city. And, of course, I was in the lead because I was the Husky, and it was right at dusk, and we were all ready to go home. I was like, well, I'll go clear this real quick, and we'll go home. Well, little do we know that they had been planning an ambush since we were at the top of that mountain. So there was a lot of people down there waiting on us. And I went down to the city, made the turn, and as I was turning to come back, I felt just like a jolt, almost like I ran over a speed bump again. All right, let's go to the next one. And when the RPG hit, I don't know if you guys can see, but it's kind of like a ladder going up that back side. That's how you climb up and go into the top of the cockpit. Well, that's just like some 2-inch steel tubing, and it's hollow inside. It's really not much of anything. I don't know if you guys know much about RPGs, but they have a little bit of swirl to them when they're coming at you. Well, when he shot it at me, it hit, and right about where that second rung down is where it hit at. Now, that RPG, it hit the bottom of that rung and went down and into my gas tank, which is why you can see everything is black, because it burnt for about 9 hours after it hit. 1 inch higher, it hits the top of that rung, shoots up, goes through the metal plating, through my back, and out the front windshield. So we're talking about that much, which is why I'm pretty thankful for every day. Pretty thankful for every day. That's one of the times where you're just like, man, that should have been it right there. That should have been it. Next one. Like I said, it burnt for about 9 hours. And then we were in an ambush. And like I said, I went down and turned around. And when I looked back to my right, I heard Sergeant Rod yell, RPG, RPG. I looked, and I saw the RPG impact the front of his vehicle. It impacted the front windshield of his vehicle. So it went straight through and into the back part of the vehicle. His driver got knocked out. His gunner got knocked out. And right as I saw that happen and he was yelling it out is when I felt the one hit me. So imagine flames completely over top of that, probably about maybe 5 foot over the top of where that top panel is, completely engulfed. So I'm like, all right, how are we going to get out of here? Later, I would find out that my platoon sergeant was sitting in his vehicle, putting his flame retardant gloves on, going, man, how am I going to get man out of that? But he was coming to get me, and he came to get me. He was really surprised when he found me laying in the ditch. I wasn't in there anymore. Nobody knows how I got out of it. I know how I got out of it. I unbuckled my straps. I jumped out through the flames, jumped down over the top, reached back in to get my iPod, which was pretty sacred, and jumped down over the side into a hail of bullets. Little did I know later that whenever I was standing up on top, whenever I just got out, we were back in the briefing, and the guy that was in the second truck that was behind the first truck was like, yeah, man, they missed you 3 times while you were standing up there. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, they shot 3 more RPGs at you while you were standing on top of that, and they went over top of your head. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Second time I've been pretty lucky today, right? So I jumped down off of that, run around to this side, and jump into the ditch. I think we got another picture, right? Of it all. Yeah, that's just another picture of it, just showing you kind of the front view. But yeah, when I was standing right up there in between those two lights, there were another 3 RPGs that swirled over top of my head. So that day goes down in the record books as probably missing death at least 4 times, at least. It's a day that we'll never forget, especially those of us that got hit the hardest. Sergeant Rod's driver still not doing quite well to this day. Luckily for us, though, most everybody else was doing good. That day was also the first day I got to ride in a Black Hawk. I didn't have a vehicle anymore, so they said, well, we'll just put you and Rod on the helicopter and we'll send you back to the base. Sergeant Rod ended up not making it. So that's a pretty tough day for all of us. Let's go on to another happy one. Yeah, Sergeant Morphin. One dude that we don't have to worry about is Sergeant Morphin. This dude was real awesome. He went to airborne school, he went to air assault school, he went to ranger school, and he was one of the blessed leaders that we had. But I just love this picture. We're sitting on a wheat field out on Springfield Avenue. We're just waiting for EOD to get there, and I thought this picture was pretty awesome. Next. This is also by the time The Men Who Stare at Goats came out. So this is another route that was really hot. We were actually not too far away from another ambush whenever we took this picture. But he was staring at goats. And then something I wanted to say about that was the power that we had. This was on Route Nebraska. There's a cliffside on one side and a big valley on the other. So we got ambushed several times through there. They knew us. We found out later that they wrote our truck numbers on the inside of the walls, so they knew when we were coming, and they didn't want to mess with us anymore. It was one of our last days there, one of our last missions. We shouldn't have even really been on this mission because the people to take our place were there. But they sent us out because they knew that we could do it, and we were one of the only ones that were going to get it done. And I don't know that I've even told Scott this before, but we were on this route, and there was a particular culvert that we were worried about. But once again, it was getting dark. We had cleared that culvert earlier in the day, and we were going back. I had a real bad feeling again. It was just one of those feelings like, man, this is our last mission. This is not good. And we get up to this. It's right before we go into a town. We get up to the edge of the town, and I'm sitting in the back of this vehicle, and I'm thinking about Scott, and I'm praying, and I'm like, man, I wish we were out of the vehicles so we could go check this, but I just want to get home. So everybody just starts hitting the gas, and we just start going as fast as we can, get over this bump. And I commanded in the back of that, and nobody on this earth will ever tell me that me and the dude in the back of this truck did not command this bomb to go off. But they had packed the culvert full, and they were waiting on us. And me and this other dude were in the back of this truck. We were praying, and we were commanding that nothing was going to happen to us today. This is our last mission. We were all going home. We were tired of it. Nothing was going to happen. And right as the last truck went over top of the culvert, they clicked it off, and it went off in behind us. And our entire convoy had went over top of this IED while Taliban was watching us, and nothing happened until after we all went by past it. So can't tell me that it wasn't me and him that did that either. Let's see, what's one of the last ones? Oh, and then the last picture. This is Sergeant Rod. He was my squad leader. He was the guy that got killed that day in our firefight. He was luckily the only one from our platoon that we lost that day. Since we've been back, we have lost one. We're worried about 3 more. So keep us all in your prayers. There's a lot that we go through. This was just a little bit, of my deployment. But there's a lot that we go through. And for us, every day is Veterans Day, and every day is Memorial Day. I wear this every day. I look at it every day. I think about him every day. And every time I see this picture, I think about how, you know, this was the year before we left. You know, freedom is not free, and that is the perfect picture of why freedom is not free, right there. So, you know, I just wanted to go through there. That's the last one. I wanted to leave you with that, but you know, there was a lot of stuff that we went through, and I think Scott unknowingly had been laying a lot of foundational stuff in me. It was just a season that we were in before I left, the season of 2008 and 2009. And I don't know, it's whatever it was, you know, even whenever I said that Marisa knew that I was going to get blown up that day, we didn't have any worries about it. She didn't worry about it. I didn't worry about it. I knew what was going to happen, and I was going to come home, and that was going to be it. And it really helped me through that, and it's helped me a lot since then. So if you know veterans and you know that are going through something, you know, a lot of time, even a lot of the guys that I went to war with, when I try and broach this subject with them, they're like, eh. And a lot of them have turned out, you know, complete atheists. But the ones of us that are doing good, the ones of us that are doing successful now, had a foundation before we left and have been in church since we came back. So if you know somebody that's struggling, of course, pray for them. And, you know, don't be too in their face about it. But, you know, you might just kindly suggest, hey, you know, check out what Scott's going on, or check out some of these old sermons online, or, you know, do something like that. Because, like I said, for us, every day is Memorial Day. So thanks, guys.